So I I teach this class every week, right? And every week I try to do a theme. So I'm my wife's asking me what's the theme for this week, and I said, well, I'm thinking about talking about the role of pain and aggravation and dissatisfaction and um, the longing, uh, on even suffering on the spiritual path and with meditation. And my wife thinks about it, says, sounds like a real pain. My name is Dr. Alistair Bear. I'm a professor of economics and teacher of meditation. And like I said, I do this class every week. It's an introduction to heart rhythm meditation. It's a meditation method that comes out of Sufism, the Sufism of Hazrat Inayat Khan, who was an Indian mystic who was, raised in India but taught in the West, United States, and Europe. Uh, so the method of heart rhythm meditation is puts a lot of focus on the breath and the heart, both the heart chakra, the heart as a energetic center of your being, and also the physical heartbeat. So the real hallmark of the method is to really develop your breath, to make your breath deep. That is coming from your belly, your abdominal breathing. Make your breath slow, fewer breaths per minute than what you usually do. Um, to make your breath rhythmic and heart centered by tuning into the rhythm of your heartbeat and placing it in a rhythm with your breath so that you have the same number of beats on the inhalation as you do on the exhalation, for example. And then the final piece is making the breath full so that you're breathing much more than you normally do. Very, very powerful practice of meditation. So let's try it out, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the philosophy and whatever else, but at least you have a sense of what this is. All right. So first step in meditation is to get your posture together. All right. Um, Now, if you're sitting in like a regular chair, you kind of see I'm sitting in like this desk chair thing here. Right? It's not really designed for meditation exactly. Um, but what I do is I scooch back in it so that my back is like right up against the back of the chair. It's giving me a little bit of kind of butt support on the kind of on the top, right? And this allows me to sit without having my back touching, right? If I'm slumped back like this, see what happens. This chair goes really far back, right? This is not a good posture for meditation. It's good for chilling, but it's not good for meditation, right? Meditation, you want to be still, but you want to be energetic, right? So the best is if you can have your back not touch something, right? That's going to feel more energetic. Now, if you can't do that for whatever reason, maybe you have back pain or whatever. I don't know. Whatever you're dealing with, that's okay. I'm just saying, if you don't have those issues, it would be best to sit up very straight, right? If you do and you have to modify and whatever, that's okay. But try to be as energetic as you can, right? So maybe you need some back support, okay, but don't be at an angle where you're real far back, right? Um, because that's going to interfere with the energy, okay? You also don't want to be slumped forward, right? You don't want to have this kind of posture, right? This is going to be hard on your back. It's going to be hard on your neck, all right? We want the head and the neck to be in line with the spine and right over the sits bones. All right. So I don't know if you can tell that that's happening from the little picture that you have of the way I'm sitting, but um, that's the okay. So one other thing about this, it's good if you can have your knees at the level of your hips or maybe a little bit below. Okay, so knees below the level of the hips. And this just helps to keep your lower back in line, right? Um, all right. So once you've gotten your posture together, all right, you can close your eyes and just tune in to your breath. Feel your breath coming in, and just let your belly expand as that happens, feel like your belly is blowing up like a balloon. And a good way to just keep paying attention to this is just to take your hand and place it on your belly, or maybe at the base of your rib cage, kind of at the upper end of your belly, and just feel your breath rising and falling, right? Get into a pattern where we breathe very shallowly and our breathing gets restricted. We breathe up high in the chest. That's called thoracic breathing. We want to do abdominal breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, right? So your belly rises as you breathe in and falls, contracts as you breathe out. Take a few breaths. Try that out, all right? I think you might find that there's something very soothing about just the act of breathing with your hand on your belly. There's something about that that drops your energy down into your body, closer to the center of gravity of your body, right? It gets away from the rapidly moving thoughts and feelings that, is associated with anxiety, right? When your thoughts rapidly jump from one thing to another and then cycle back around again. By breathing deeply in our bellies, we break that cycle. We trigger a physiological response that's been called the relaxation response. It slows your heart rate, your blood pressure drops, your body releases anti-stress hormones. It's a shift of the autonomic nervous system, which you cannot control directly, but you can control indirectly. Right? And one of the most powerful ways of doing that is your breathing. Now, if you'd like to add another hand here, put that on your chest. Now we're energizing the heart chakra, the heart center, more directly. You might be able to feel that there's a change in energy that occurs when you do this. I know you can't see, but I have two hands going right now, right? One on the chest and one on the belly. So you can do that, or you can just have one and let the other one go. Now we'd like to be able to tune into the heartbeat. And I know that this is a big ask. We're not really used to feeling our heartbeats necessarily. So to help you feel, if you're not feeling it right now, you can you can press a little bit with your palm. That often will, then you'll feel the heartbeat in your hand. Or you can press with the fingertips on your breastbone. You could do that, and you could bring the other hand and just hook it around like this. I know it's a lot of work, right? But it has a benefit, which is we're now feeling the heartbeat, which is one of our primary clocks of the body, right? So what we're going to be working on here is synchronizing these two fundamental clocks, the breath and the heartbeat, right? It's a very powerful effect on the rhythm of your body and your mind. So if you can, try this out, okay? Whether you want to have your hand on both hands here, or whether you can feel it with them down, either way, give that a try and just look for your heartbeat. If you're able to feel it, you start counting the beats of your heartbeat so that you have the same number of beats on the inhalation as you do on the exhalation. See if you can extend your breath beyond what it normally does by breathing out a bit more, breathing in a bit more, and feeling your heartbeat throughout the cycle of your longer breath. You might notice that by slowing the breath becomes something that you can really study, something that you can really learn from, something that you can experience in a much more profound and rich way than if it was very short, right? Because you don't have the time. We normally we take, 20 or 25 breaths a minute, let's say. Okay. So a breath in its entirety might take 3 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds, right? Somewhere in there. Um, that's not a lot of time to really appreciate what's happening here. You are exchanging energy and actual particles, right? I mean, what you breathe in, molecules, right? You are exchanging energy and matter with the rest of life. That's remarkable, right? That deserves some focus. That deserves some contemplation, right? It is your most fundamental exchange of energy with the life around you. And of course, it is life itself. We cannot live long without breathing, right? All right, so I'm going to end our little practice session there. If you feel like you're doing well and you want to keep practicing, please do that. I'll always support you. You're meditating while I'm talking, no problem. um, in this format, of course, I don't know what you're doing, so you're you're free to do as you like, as you always are. Um, now, so the tradition that I practice and have studied meditation in the tradition of Hazrat Inayat Khan, an Indian Sufi master, and he said there are three things that a teacher should help their student with. Uh, and they so this is like his teachings about the role of the teacher. What is this? Why might you want to have a meditation teacher, a spiritual teacher, right? And what should you be doing as a teacher? So he says the first thing you should help the student with is the thing that they consider to be their pressing need, right? The pressing need. What a thing to consider, right? What is it that you really need right now, right? um, Maybe it's, maybe you're struggling to make a living, as so many are, right? Given the challenges of this last year with the pandemic, right? Maybe that's your pressing need. Maybe your pressing need is more social. Maybe it's more about loneliness or connecting to, a special someone, let's say, or, whatever it is, right? Maybe it's the need to accomplish something that you really care about, or maybe it's a need for self discovery that feels very pressing right now. Maybe something is emerging within you that you're really struggling to understand, right? So, and most people come to meditation with some kind of need, right? Of course, like, because my God, there's so many things that you could be doing with your life, right? I mean, this is just one of them, there's so many things. So, what makes you come here now, What is it that you need? And how can meditation help with that, right? So, obviously, I have my own ideas about that, right? But the best is if you reflect on that, right? You're in touch with your needs a lot more than I'm in touch with your needs, right? I don't know, right? So just being clear, right? What do I need right now? That's so powerful, right? Because a lot of the time, we pursue it even if we're not super clear on it, right? But the clearer that we can be, the better, right? And of course, a lot of times we don't want to even let ourselves know what it is, right? Because this is the difficulty, right? If we said, this is the thing I really need, the next immediate question is like, well, what are you doing about it? Are you sitting around complaining about it? Is that right? Right? uh, that's not good, right? I mean, being clear kind of obligates you to take action, right? Like, well, what's your excuse? Um, so that things can differ, right? Depending on maybe something feels like it's out of your control, right? Um, so the old saying, the old teaching is, I want to be able to change the things I can change and accept the things that I can't, right? And be wise enough to know what the difference is. What are the things that I can change? What are the things that I must accept, right? So, guess what? Meditation is good for all of that, right? Is it good for thinking of ideas, strategies, tactics for how to proceed in a practical manner with external activities and goals? Yes, quite good at that, right? Is it good for figuring out what is it that I really want? I mean, focus on that. Maybe you've taken on too many things. Maybe some of those things don't matter all that much to you, right? So we focus on the things that do. You're likely to nail those things. You're more likely to, right? Um, Maybe you need to focus on accepting something, right? Maybe that's the challenge. Maybe it's not about changing external things. Maybe it's about changing something within yourself. Okay, so but nonetheless, right, the pressing need is a very critical part of your development, right? And Hassan Icahn calls this the short-term work, okay? Because it typically is limited, right? It's a thing that you want now, right? Um, it's short term, all right? Now, what else do you want to help the student with, or what else might a person come to meditation with for, right? Um, and Hazrat Nat Khan calls this advancing in realization, right? So, what is that? What does that mean, right? Realization is your understanding of life, right? It's your understanding of who you are and what is the nature of life itself, the universe, God, reality, whatever you want to call it. And then what is the relationship between the two, right? What is the relationship between you and life? Uh, Now, these kind of the view of these things changes dramatically as we go through the spiritual path, right? So, spiritual path is about awakening. The spiritual path is about the realization of unity, right? And not just knowing that, right, in some abstract sense, but acting that way, right? Living that way. Okay, so this kind of encapsulates the medium term work and the long term work, right, together. Okay, so this medium term work is to advance in your understanding of who you are and what life is, right? And what is the relationship between those two? And this is a very much a dialectical process. This is a process where you learn about yourself and you learn about life together at times. You go back and forth, right? And a lot of times this proceeds through obstacles, through challenges, through difficulties, right? The changes that occur often cause pain. I mean, let me just be honest, right? Like, that is a reality of the spiritual path. It is not all ice cream and unicorns and rainbows. And that's not true at all, right? It's not all blissful because change is hard, right? There's a part of us that would really like to just stay the same, just everything stay the same. I understand this, right? This is how This is what, what I know, right? Even if you don't love it, right? It's like, well, at least I know, right? So, but there's another part of you that longs for growth, right? Growth and pain are like this, right? If only we could grow and transform ourselves through pleasure, through happiness, through enjoyment. That'd be great, right? Wouldn't that be nice? But it's as hard to do that as it is to learn something from somebody else's mistake, right? You don't learn things from other people's mistakes usually, unless you're very wise, right? You tend you because what do you see when somebody makes a mistake? You go, ha ha, I wouldn't do that. If that were me, I would like that, right? So you don't learn anything from somebody else's mistake. You just learn, oh, that person's dumb. That's not. You learn by making a mistake, right? That is, you're like, oh, that's a lot harder than I thought, right? um, what happened, right? So um, we learn from painful experiences. We often learn the most from these, right? And maybe that's why life gives them to us, honestly, right? I mean, if life was about pleasure and enjoyment and satisfaction, it probably look pretty different than what it does, right? Life changes, right? Life presents us with challenges. That seems to be the nature of it. So, you know, perhaps that's because that's the drive that we all have, right? We all have a inner longing to change and develop, to reach our potential, right? To be held back and to be stagnant, right? As much as there may be a part of ourselves that wants that, there's also a part of ourselves that dies when that happens, right? If we are not advancing, we're dying. So, wow, right? You feel the urgency of that, right? If not, maybe you're already dead. I don't know. um, all right. So, to advance in realization, now, how does meditation help with this? Well, because meditation should provide you with a way to experience these peak kind of experiences. All right. Now, I've described this in previous classes. These are the stages of consciousness that occur. Okay, so we move from a free floating kind of consciousness where our thoughts are not organized or not focused in a coherent way, right, to focusing on something, right? So, suggesting, right, method of heart rhythm meditation that you focus on your breath and your heart chakra, right, your heart center. Focus on your breath expressing or radiating as you breathe out, and taking in, accepting, understanding, perceiving. All of these things are taking in energy to your heart as you breathe in, right? So you are exchanging, and notice that the exchange is even and rhythmic. Okay, so what you give out comes back. What you give in, what you take in. All right, these things are even. I'm sorry, I'm going to close my window for a second. My kids are playing right outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I can. So, all right. So let's try this again. All right, and bring the focus to your breath and to the sense of giving as you breathe out. Right, expanding, expressing, radiating, all of that. Right, as you breathe out, and as you take in, you are receiving energy, inspiration, life, vitality, love, even. All right. Well, that's our nature. Okay. So assume your upright posture. All right. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your belly or on your chest as you like. And you engage your breathing all the way in and all the way out, working now on the full breath. squeezing your abdominal muscles more completely than you normally do when breathing, breathing out much, much more than you typically do, freeing up the space to then breathe in much more than you do, but you're controlling the breath, you're keeping it slow, you're not allowing it to just rush all the way in and be a very short breath, but you're extending it, you're keeping it the same length and intensity as you did on the exhalation. Very challenging. But I hope you can feel the payoff for this difficulty that I'm putting you through, which is that there's a lot more energy at play here. The breath is energy. By breathing all the way out, you are giving everything you have, right? You are going to 100%. How rare is it that we do that? And then the amazing thing that happens is you can then breathe all the way in and receive so much more energy and vitality and breath than you normally do. And you might feel your heart just coming alive, the exaltation of this full breath. All right, so hopefully you're getting a feeling for that. Now, please, if at any time you have a question, comment, whatever you want to share with me how it's going, feel free to drop a note in the chat. If it's going great and you have nothing you want to add, then that's fine too. Um, so what we what we're looking to train and develop here, by developing the breath and by making the breath really optimal in the 5 ways that I've described. Okay, that is making it deep, slow, full, rhythmic, heart centered, and full. Right, those are 5. Uh, by doing that, we are creating a foundation. Okay, we're following a method. We're giving our minds something to focus on. Okay, it is more difficult in my experience. I've done lots of different kinds of meditation, right? In my experience, it is more difficult to practice a method that says just sit or just try to clear your mind, right? There are very minimalist kinds of methods. There are ones that are much easier than what I'm describing that don't put you through the ringer like I am. And, oh, Dr. Bear, what a stern taskmaster. So, really cracking the whip on us. Yeah, there's easier methods, but they end up being harder because if you do not have that strong, powerful breath, and you're not going to have it if you don't train it, then it's a very easy for your mind to just blow you off track, right? If you have that rhythm developed, does it mean your mind will never wander? No, but it means that your energetic foundation is so strong that your thoughts are not going to they're not going to bowl you over, right? Your thoughts and feelings that come up are it's like having a big ship, right? That's the point of it. Having your breath developed is like crossing the ocean in an ocean liner as opposed to crossing in a rowboat. Which one is more likely to get disturbed by a wave, right? And these waves happen. Okay, so that's the benefit, right? We want to cultivate certain experiences in meditation. Okay, so we want to cultivate the ability to concentrate, to focus our minds. That's an important foundational ability not just for meditation, but for anything, right? You want to achieve something, you're going to focus on it, right? That's probably step one, right? Focus. Okay, so but we want to go further with that. That's not all there is to meditation. That's the beginning, right? We want to go further. We want to enter a state of flow. We want our concentration to develop to the point where it carries us along, right? Where we enter this flow state, right? Sometimes it's been called contemplation, all right? Dhyana in the Yoga Sutras, all right? So the deepening of concentration, the where it becomes easy rather than hard, right? Like roll a boulder uphill, it's so hard, right? Concentrate. But it comes a point where it sort of levels off, and then the boulder starts rolling on its own. We're catching, we're swept along with it. Oh, it's not a perfect metaphor, but you get the idea, right? So, just one of the things I hope you get from this, and it may take practice, is that that feeling of the meditation sweeping you along, right? You're not having to work so hard just to focus. You are being carried along by it, right? It's a very different feeling. But it's still very much concentration in the sense that your mind is focused, right? You are focused on your activity, right? So that's a important moment, right? That's concentration is generally not a like super important moment, right? Because we've all typically had a lot of experience concentrating on something. Now this might be new for you concentrating on your breath, right? But concentration in general is a pretty well understood skill in Western society, right? So, but contemplation, getting in the flow, that's a little rarer. Um, you might be able to see when somebody's in it, right? When they're really totally focused on an activity, and yet they're just, I keep on saying the same stuff over and over again, but hopefully you're getting it, right? All right. So, is this the end of meditation? No, right, not at all. We want to there's another stage beyond this, which is the encounter with the infinite. Oh, I see I have a comment here from Red Comrades in China. Thanks for this. You're welcome. Thank you for joining me. So the next stage we want to get to is the experience of the infinite, the experience of the unlimited, right? So, and this is what I think of as the state of meditation, right? So in the Yoga Sutras, this is samadhi, right? So the unity of all parts of one's being that opens into the timeless, the eternal, the perfect. Okay, that is the experience of the infinite, the experience of the unlimited. And the paradox is that we cannot really understand ourselves as limited human beings. We cannot really understand who we are without the experience of the infinite. That makes sense of all of our limited qualities, right? Because what we know about ourselves is really way too small. We have so much more longing. We have so much more passion, all right, than what can just fit into one person's lifespan or you know uh, personality, or right. We are fascinated by the experiences of others, right? Because we know there's so much richness to life. There's not just one way to be, right? Like we know our way of being. That's not all there is to it, right? Not at all. There's so many, right? It's fascinating. So we are very much, right, longing for the infinite. It's the only thing that can make sense of our limitation. And so it's an incredible moment to experience that, right? And it's not it's not as common, right? To concentrate, very common, right? To enter the state of flow, less common, but not unheard of, right? Not there's lots of people have done that, right? To experience the infinite is certainly less common, right? More rare. Now we're talking about an experience that you're likely to remember. If it only happens once, you might remember it for your whole life. Uh, sometimes, people say, "Oh, how do I know when I've hit this state?" And it's so it's so remarkable that you will absolutely know. It's a little bit like if somebody says, "How do I know if I've had an orgasm? How do I know?" Right? No, trust me. Uh, it's a, it's a big experience. It's an experience that blows you away. So when people talk, sometimes people talk about meditation and they say amazing stuff, right? I had no thoughts, or I felt like I was annihilated, or I was blown away, or whatever. Right? This is the thing they're trying to say, I think, right? I mean, because it can't really be put into words. Words are far too limited for the unlimited, right? I mean, we explain what that is by what it's not. It's not limited, right? Um, that's way outside our everyday experience, right? So that's an important goal, a thing we want to cultivate. Now, it's an odd goal to have because you can't make yourself experience this. It's the amazing thing, right? It's not, we're going beyond what your willpower can do. You can't make yourself enter the state of meditation. You can cultivate it. You can prepare. You can ask for that. You can hope for it, right? Can you make it happen? No, not in my experience. Not in many decades of practicing meditation. Um, so we want to have that experience, and then we'd like to have it reliably. We'd like that to be something that it becomes more a part of our reality, right? A repeated experience, uh, and then that starts to really change you. You start to become more comfortable with that idea. It starts to become less and less alien. It's still mind blowing, but there's something that becomes, it starts to feel more like home. And amazing, right? So rather than a spectacular, ride on a rocket that goes to the moon or sun or wherever the hell, right? No, we're talking about something that feels more and more like your true nature. Okay. Um, if that makes sense, right? So this is the development that we want to support, right? Now, this is a long-term process because the learning meditation is like any skill, right? I can tell you how to do it, but does that mean you're going to be able to do it right away? I mean, maybe. I hope so. I hope you pick it up. You pick up the vibe for me. um, but the truth is that if you want to be able to do it on your own, you're going to have to really practice. You're going to have to put the things I say into action, right? You're going to have to, okay, what's he saying about the breath? Let me see if I follow every step. Um, and by the way, I have a whole course that I offer on my Patreon page. If you guys are interested, you check that out. Goes through the whole method step by step. I'm giving you a lot of steps right now in the class. What I do a much more systematic version of that, which you can check out. I put the link in the description if you're interested, or if you just want to support the my work and what I do. Of course, I'd appreciate that. And thank you so much to all my patrons who have supported this. I appreciate that very much. Um, so, meditation is a skill, right? It's a skill that you invest in, right? And why? Well, that goes back to what do you need, right? What do you want? What is the thing that brings you here, right? Okay. Um, so now I'm also telling you, right? Okay, so this is longer term thing, which is it will over time it will change through experience, right? It will change your understanding of who you are, right? I can say to you, okay, there's a part of you that is, infinite light, infinite love. Um, and maybe that sounds nice, right? But if I say that and you say, oh yeah, that sounds so wise. That's great. Beautiful poetry, right? Maybe right, can appreciate it on that level. But if you felt it yourself, you feel it yourself, that's night and day in terms of the impact, right? Somebody says a nice thing, oh, that's nice. You experience the mind blowing reality of the infinite perfection of who you truly are. That's a whole other thing, right? That goes way beyond what some person says on the internet. I mean, who cares after all, right? When you know from experience, right? And that's the point of meditation, right? And all the stuff I'm saying is hot air unless it supports that, right? Unless it motivates that, right? Motivates you to practice, to study, to right, do what needs to be done in order to get that skill, right? Um, Now, do you need that skill to have these experiences? No, you don't. That's the incredible thing. Do you need that? These things happen because they're part of our nature, right? So the history is full of wonderful stories about people who spontaneously have this incredible experience of the unlimited, right? Do you need meditation to do it? Not at all, right? Um, the feeling that sense of unity and oneness. You could have that experience while making love, right? Very common, in fact, right? That's one of the things perhaps we like about it, right? As you know, in addition to that, I know there's a few other things, but um, why then would we need a method, right? If I'm telling you, oh, you could have this experience doing something else. Um, I mean, if you can get it through sex, I mean, by all means, please try and do that. You have plenty of reasons to do that already, right? Here's another one. Um, Having a method just makes it more reliable, right? Um, Gives you something to fall back on, because moods change, right? Your vibe changes, where you are, all your thoughts, all of this stuff, right? That all changes. If you have a method, you have something that you can go back to, and that provides you, like I said, with a foundation. Okay, so and you also then you have something that you can work with, especially over time. All right. So, okay, now we talked about the short term, right? What is it you need? We've talked about this kind of medium term, right? Which is developing realization, right? That's your understanding of who you are and what life is. And the longest term work here is, Hazrat Icon calls it developing character, right? Meaning that you're actually taking what you experience in meditation and you're using it right in every aspect of life. So not just in terms of what you know, but how you act, how you are, right? That should also be affected, and that's going to take the longest time, right? But this is something that is wonderful to find in a person, right? If you find a person that has that quality, right, that first of all knows who they are, right, knows their connection to the universe, to God, right, to reality, and actually acts that way, right? Oh, it's incredible, right? Very, very rare to find that. And it's wonderful to find that, right? So a person like that is a hugely inspiring and comforting presence without them even saying a word, right? Just because it's in their being, right? So something to aspire to, right? Now, I said I wanted to talk about this dissatisfaction, pain, right? All this suffering that comes up. Um, that comes up as a natural process as you do this exploration, even as you just try to accumulate the skills, right? Uh, then you get this a lot of times a sense of dissatisfaction, uh, this sense of, and it can manifest in all sorts of ways. It can manifest in saying, "Oh my God, what a waste of time! Why am I meditating? So many more important things to do." Right? Um, because okay, you have this feeling, let's go, right? Um, that where does that come from? Well, that longing for the infinite, that knowledge deep within you. There's a lot more to you, right? And how is that going to get expressed, right? So knowing what it is, and then how do you choose to use that energy? Okay. Um, and there will be things that test your faith, right? I mean, like as there would be with any kind of skill, right? Any skill requires you to commit to it, invest in it, right? Keep doing it over time. That's the only way you make progress with anything, right? So meditation, though, has a kind of unique ability to shake you from that, right? Because it reveals that dissatisfaction. It reveals that aggravation that you have with yourself, right? I have this to a huge degree. I'm going to be honest with you, right? I have a huge amount of internal aggravation, right? Where I'm like, why can't I be better? I want to, right? Do more, be better. That's my kind of constant refrain. Now, we have to separate, right? Because some of this stuff comes at us from the culture or from outside. That's all nonsense, okay? Nothing that is imposed on you from other people or from the culture or whatever, none of that matters, right? What matters is what resonates in you, right? So it sh- now it's confusing because we it's all a jumble in there, right? How do we know what is coming from us, right? Deeply and authentically from us, because of course we're influenced by the messages around us, we're influenced by other people and so on. It can be difficult to separate, right? But again, good thing to do in meditation, right? To separate out what are the things that really matter to me. How do I want to be, right? Not how other people say I should be. Said secondary at most, right? What matters is how you choose to live, right? How you choose to be, how you want to unfold. What qualities do you want to develop, unfold, and uncover? All right. I um, I have to say I was planning on talking about something a little bit different in this class. I was planning on talking about maybe a little bit more about my own personal history related to teaching meditation and so on. Maybe I'll say, since I've started and I'm down that road, I'll say a little bit. Um, I I trained as a professor. Right, I'm a professor of economics. I trained. I went to grad school at a pretty young age, and but I grew up with meditation, so I always had that. It was always part of my background. I meditated for the first time as a really young child, but I took it on as a practice myself when I was a teenager. So that's when I really want to, like I said, invest in this skill and develop it, right? So I'm going to start practicing every day, right? And that's what I've done for a little over 30 years now. And along the way, I've taken many retreats, and my father and my stepmother and my father's ex-wife is almost all my stepmother from when they were together. My mother, my stepfather, all spiritual teachers, very much part of my family and upbringing, and I was lucky enough to be exposed to a lot of these teachings, through my family and at a young age. Okay. Now there's a contradiction here, which is that, you know, as they say, no person is a hero to their butler, right? When you when you know somebody really well, then you have a sense of like, well, are you living up to these teachings? And the teachings are grand and aspirational, right? That's the other thing that's a difficulty about meditation. It puts you in touch with some very high aspirations, right? And are you always going to live up to those? Answer: no, of course not. You can't. No one can, right? That's, being human means you're going to fall short a lot, right? Your daily experience is going to be falling short. So why would you take on these incredible aspirations, right? It's kind of like holding a burning hot coal in your hand, right? Um, well, what if it provides you with direction, right? What if it gives you light to see by? What if it gives you a compass to orient yourself by, right? Right? Your aspirations are a big part of who you are and what motivates you, right? Right? What lifts you up? What gives you the sense that things matter, right? It's going to make it hard for you to have aspirations? Absolutely. No question about that, right? The higher the aspiration, the more difficult. but it also gives you incredible strength, right? To have that. It gives you incredible inspiration, right? If only I could live up to even a fraction of it, right? Ah, that'd be fantastic, right? I want to do better, right? So, we need that. Um, so like I said, I trained as a professor, and then I had a moment in my life where I had achieved a lot of the things that I had wanted, right? So I had, I was in the city that I wanted to be in, which is San Francisco. My wife and I both really wanted to be in a wonderful city. um, I had tenure. I had a good job, a lot of job security. We just had a baby, um, and my life felt like. I mean, I felt very blessed, but I also felt like, what is this about? And I took the kind of leap. I left my tenured job, and I first took a leave, an unpaid leave, and then I end up leaving altogether. Um, and my colleagues were pretty surprised by that because usually, somebody doesn't leave a tenured job, right? That's usually the job you retire from, right, or die doing. Um, so I left, and it was to serve as the executive director for this organization that my father and stepmother started and run. That's called the Institute for Applied Meditation. So we, you know, teach people rhythm meditation and lead retreats and seminars and so on. And I left academic teaching, and I thought, I'm never coming back. I will. I'm going to work at this organization. I'll do whatever I can to build it and make it grow. And that's it, right? I threw out all my old notes, and it was quite a. It was like the burning of the ships. And I did this for 5 years. I was the marketing director, executive director, and all this. Moved the organization forward in many, many ways, and it was an honor to serve. I learned a huge amount. Uh, and then what happened was, it's like, let's say, um, tell God your plans. If you want to hear God laughing, right? Tell God your plans. Um, so life did not go according to my plan, right? I ended up, we had differences in vision about what did we want for the institute. Um, I thought that we were very much aligned, and that turned out not to be true. Uh, and so we parted ways. It was by far the most painful experience of my life. I was utterly and completely shattered by it. And, it raised for me this question of, well, what am I doing now, right? I thought my life would be dedicated to this. You need to earn a living and whatever. That was all in transition, and we had a real parting of the ways. I returned to teaching. Luckily, I was able to find another tenure track job. I don't know. I mean, it seemed kind of incredible, given the relative rarity of these positions. Uh, and I returned to a part of my life that I thought I had left behind. And then for some years, for about 4 years, I struggled with this, right? What does this mean? And I gave everything I had to this. Why did it fail? Why did it end? Did I fail, right? Was my faith in this too weak? These are the kinds of questions any kind of thing like this, right, is going to raise. Uh, and because meditation is so deeply interwoven with all of this for me, right, then it's like, the character of my meditation changed quite a bit, right? Whenever I would sit down and meditate, I would feel this unbelievable pain and grief for years, right? So it gave me an appreciation for that, right? I learned so much from that. Now it's not the kind of learning that I'd say like, oh, I'd recommend this to anybody. No, I would not recommend this kind of pain to anyone. I wish, I don't wish it on anybody. But and yet, at the same time, I can say it was immensely valuable to me, right? As as a way of growing, right? As a way of shattering my faith and then seeing what's left, what happens when you try and put the pieces back together, right? Um, you know, e- um, Suffering and pain give you a depth and richness that pleasant experiences, nice experiences, safe experiences just do not provide. So, and that's not to say you seek them out, right? You don't have to. Uh, Life has a way of delivering them to you, right? You don't seek out pain and hardship. Um, but one of the other things was so revealing was the idea that, well, one thinks, so if I'm on the spiritual path and committed to that and so on, I won't experience this kind of, pain and grief and, shattering of faith and so on, right? Not necessarily, right? You experience what you are meant to experience to help you grow. And that's a kind of incredible idea to just live with and see, right? See if that helps, right? Hold that idea. It's a hard one to hold on to, because whenever something difficult, challenging, painful happens, we often get into a self-pity mode, right? And say, why? Oh no, it's not so bad. Why me? Why now? No, I'm a good person. No, don't do this. Come on, life, stop it. Right? Uh, what if it's for our development in a way that we just cannot see? Right? So this is what I've taken from this experience. I mean, I hope sharing the story with you has some value, right? Um, it's just an illustration, right? That what you experience has a place. It has a purpose, right? Everything has a purpose, and that's a very good attitude just to take with you in meditation because lots of things happen. Right? The inner world is as rich and varied as the outer world, and that's what you're exploring in meditation, right? So a lot of stuff is going to happen, right? It's good to have that attitude about it, right? To say, I'm going to embrace these inner experiences and not going to let them stop me, right? Because again, we think about what is it you need here, right? Why did you come to meditation, right? What is it that you're seeking? And that the answer to that, of course, is going to change. But it's it's a good question to ask, right? Um, another comment is thanks for sharing your experiences and insights. Absolutely. um, I'm like I said, I'm here every week, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Thank you guys for joining me live tonight. You can watch all my previous live stream classes. I think this is the 16th or 17th one or something like this. So I've got a little back catalog if you want to check that out. Um, Nice to sit with you tonight, and namaste. See you next week, I hope. Take care.